Shalom, friends. Welcome to another Shear in Tanya. I'm Eliyahu Shear from Chesed Ve'emet. You can find my site on www.lovingkindness.co. So we're learning the Tanya written by the Alter Rabbi who lived from 1745 to 1812. We're currently on chapter 10. And for those who are new here or are tuning into this Shear and have missed the previous Shiurim, just a very brief idea of what we're talking about is that the Tanya opened up to tell us about different types of souls that exist in this world. There are souls that are called Tzaddikim, there are souls that are called Rishaim, and there are souls that are called Beinonim. That means the righteous souls, the what we call evil souls, and what we call the medium soul, the average man. And the Tzaddik, of course, is somebody whose good deeds are not just that he is outweighing his bad deeds, as many people think, but in fact, he's at a level whereby he has slain all evil that exists in his heart. Whereas the evil person, the Rasha, is a person who is in a situation where his heart rules completely over his mind. But the Tzaddik has a situation whereby his mind rules completely over his heart. And the Beinoni is kind of stuck in the middle, whereby his heart is ruled by both inclinations. And what's happening is that the body is considered to be a city. And the city is dominated by two kings, by the, let's call him the evil king and the good king, the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara, good and evil. And the idea is that the kings are fighting over the city. The city is the body, and the inhabitants of the city refers to the limbs of the body. And the whole idea is that the two kings are fighting over the city so that the limbs of the body should be subjugated to its will. To the degree that a person's limbs are subjugated to the will of one of these kings, to that degree he can be termed a tzaddik or a rasha, a righteous individual or an evil individual. Now, last week, when we were discussing in chapter 10, we were discussing about the idea of the tzaddik, who is not completely in the rulership of his heart, meaning to say that he has completely overturned any bad in the heart into good. There might still be a little bit of bad in his heart that hasn't yet been overturned to the good. And that's basically where we left off from. And what we're going to be discussing today is the concept of the righteous individual who has completely removed all evil from his heart and has replaced it with complete good. And this is where we left off last week, where we said, V'hein heim bechinot tzaddikim arabim. These are the many tzaddikim that exist, shebechol adorot, in all generations, kedeisa beGemara, as it is discussed in the Gemara, the tamnisar alfei tzaddikei kamei tekudshe brichu, that there are 18,000 righteous souls that stands in the presence of the Holy One, blessed be He. That means to say that God has created in existence 18,000 wonderful souls. They are so good and so pure that God has separated them and placed them in each generation. These are very unique individuals. Ach al ma'alas Tzaddik Gamur. But when we speak about this level of what's called the ultimate, complete, righteous individual, which means to say that he has no bad in him. He has turned all bad in his heart into good, which basically means that within his levushim, within his garments of thought, speech, and action, he can only deal with matters that pertain to goodness. Just imagine that, for example, as we discussed before, that a person thinks only good thoughts, he speaks only good speech, and he acts out on actions which are totally good. He cannot imagine what it means to think bad, to speak bad, or to do bad. This is called the Tzaddik Gamur. He is a complete tzaddik. Who she'amar Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and this is what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said. Today is Lag BaOmer. Today is the Yotzeit, the day of the Histalkus, of the ascent of the soul of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai into the higher worlds. And so we are celebrating this as Lag BaOmer today. And here we are quoting by coincidence, or perhaps by no coincidence, a teaching of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said the following, Ra'isi Bnei Aliyah, I have seen men of ascent, V'hem mu'atim, and they are few. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who was an outstanding Torah scholar in every respect, he was outstanding in the revealed Torah, and he was outstanding in the hidden Torah. No secret was hidden from the soul of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai knew all the secrets of the Torah, and he was privy to being in contact with the souls of many, many people, whether they were in this world or whether they had already passed on to the next world. He was a very great tzaddik. And he says that you should know something, he tells us. I have seen men of ascent, meaning I've seen the Tzaddikim Gamurim. I've seen these outstandingly pure, righteous, completely righteous individuals, and they are few and far between. Shelachen nikraim Bnei Aliyah. And that is why they are called men of ascent. These great individuals are called men of ascent. Why? Shemhabchin hara, because they turn over the evil, uma'alim oto lekedusha, and they cause it to ascend into holiness. The Tzaddikim Gamurim, the truly righteous individuals, are able to take things that are evil and they can turn them into good. Now imagine that for a second. Take any subject that you can think about in the world that is evil, and imagine turning that over into good. Take something that is dark and turn it into light. Take a dark room and turn it into light. How are you going to do that? You need to know what to do. In the physical world, if we want to take a room that is dark and turn it into light, we use something of the nature of a light, a torch, a candle, whatever it is that we're going to do. We put it on or we light it up, and immediately we dispel the darkness. Now, these Tzaddikim Gamurim are able to do that in the spiritual world in every area. They are able to take evil and they can actually turn the evil into good. It's very interesting to note that in Hebrew, the word for holy is kadosh, and the word that describes a prostitute is a kadesha. And everybody can hear the connection between the two words, kadosh and kadesha. Kadosh means holy, kadesha refers to a prostitute. Why is a prostitute called a kadesha when it's related completely to the word kadosh, which means holy? The answer is because within the act that the prostitute is involved in, she could actually turn that act into an act of holiness if she so wished to. She could marry in a holy manner, and she could have children in a holy manner. But instead, she uses that for her own devices. She wishes to make money or indulge in her own pleasures. That is something that is negative. But if she wanted to, she could use that same action for good. Now, the Tzaddik Gamur, is able to turn over all aspects of evil into good. As it is brought down in the Zohar, which is written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, whose histalkus, ascent into heaven, we are celebrating today on Lag BaOmer, and it mentions over there in Haktamah, in the introduction, Rabbi Chia la'alot leheichal Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, when Rabbi Chia, who was his pupil, wished to ascend into the palace of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which means to say that he missed his teacher. His teacher had passed on, and he wished to ascend to see his teacher in the spiritual worlds above. And as he was about to do so, and he was going to go on this what's called an aliyat neshama, which means an ascent of the soul. A person can do such a thing if he knows how, if he has purified himself well enough. He can ascend all the way from this physical world into the highest of spiritual worlds. Even though he is living in this physical world, he is able to cause his soul to ascend to very high levels, and even into the degree that he can enter into these spiritual worlds. When Rabbi Chia was doing so, Rabbi Chia, the pupil of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, was ascending. Shama kala nafik va'amar. He heard a voice that was going out in heaven, and the voice said the following words: Man minchon di chashoka mabchin lenohora. Who of you is taking the darkness and turning it into light? V'ta'amin meriro lemitka, and is taking the taste of bitterness and turning it into sweetness. Ad lo yesun haka. You may not come over here until you have done this particular thing. Which means to say, if one reads this in the Zohar, anybody wants the reference is in the Zohar, right in the beginning, in the introduction, page 4a. Here you will see these words mentioned. I remember this well because I'm fond of quoting this as well, which are these words are very, very powerful, where a voice went out from heaven and said, who of you are transforming the darkness into light? And who of you are turning the bitter taste, meaning evil, into sweetness? If you're not one of them, you may not pass through these gates. Only people who are involved in the process of turning evil into good and bitterness into sweetness may enter into those holy palaces above. V'od nikra'im Bnei Aliyah, and they are also called men of ascent, mipnei shegam avodatam bebechinas va'asei tov, because their service that they are involved in. So the first thing is that they're called Bnei Aliyah, people of ascent, because these tzaddikim are able to ascend to these higher worlds. Now, the second reason that they're called Bnei Aliyah is because mipnei shegam avodatam bebechinas va'asei tov, because their service is also of the aspect of va'asei tov. Asei tov means to do good, which means to say that the tzaddikim are in the process of a relationship to God in which they are involved in doing good. There are two aspects that we can involve ourselves in this world. One aspect is sur meira, which means go away from bad. The second aspect is asei tov, do good. Now the tzaddikim, these Bnei Aliyah, are people who are involved in the action of doing good. They don't have to go away from bad because they have already gone away from bad. They have already left it and they are on the path of doing good. B'kiyum ha-Torah u'mitzvoseha, they fulfill the Torah and its mitzvahs. Hu letzorech gavua u'ma'ala ma'ala ad rom ha'ma'alot. And that work that they're doing, the service that they're doing to serve God, is for the sake of God alone, and it ascends all the way up to the highest of levels. And it's not only in order to cleave to Hashem only, and it's not only for the sake, in order to saturate the thirst of their souls that are thirsting towards Hashem, as it is written, which means to say that for the majority of people who are on the process of ascending in holiness to cleave to the divine, these people are often in it for their own gain. Sometimes when we want to cleave to God, we want to do it for our own selfish reasons, and we find all sorts of ways to achieve this goal so that we can slake our own thirst. We're able to refresh ourselves because of the fact that we're doing it for ourselves. But these tzaddikim gamurim, these truly righteous, completely righteous individuals, they're called Bnei Aliyah, they're called men of ascent, because they do their actions of good in order not to saturate their own thirst, but rather to serve Hashem. As the pasuk says, Hoi kol tzamei lechu lemayim. This is a verse in the book of Isaiah, Yeshayahu Nun Hey, which means chapter 55, pasuk Aleph, verse 1. It says, woe, all you who are thirsty, go to water. What did the prophet mean when he says, anybody who's thirsty, go to water? And as it's described in another place, what did the prophet mean when he says, if you're thirsty, go to water? The answer is, Torah is comparable to water. If you're thirsty, you can go to the Torah, which is water. And when you study Torah, you'll be able to satiate yourself from the thirst of your desire towards godliness. But the pasuk, the verse didn't have to tell us that if you're thirsty, go to water. If you're thirsty, obviously you're going to go to water. So what is the verse coming to teach us? The verse comes to teach us that if a person is on the level of a tzaddik, his thirst is towards cleaving to the divine. Or when he's thirsty and he wishes to cleave to the divine, the Torah says to him, go to water. When you start to involve yourself further in the Torah, you will be able to satiate your thirst and cleave to God. Ella kedabirusho betikunim, as it is explained in the Tikkunim refer to the Tikkunim of the Zohar. And today again is Lag BaOmer. This is written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and he says the following: Ezehu Chassid, who is considered to be a pious person, who is considered to be a Chassid? The answer is Hamis Chassid im Kono, somebody who does acts of kindness with his nest. What does it mean with his creator? In Cain delay, with his nest, which means to say he does actions of kindness in the place where God is. And what does this person do? He unifies the Holy One, blessed be He, and His divine presence in the lower worlds. And what does he mean over here? That a person unifies Kutshabrihu Ushkinte. He's teaching us a great secret in the Kabbalah. And that is that our duty in this world is to create unity in everything that we do. We are supposed to unify all matters of life. Being alone is not a good thing. It is not a good thing for a man to be alone and not married. It is not a good thing for a man to be alone and not have friends. We want to unify all of creation. There should be a unity amongst all people in creation. There must be a unity in everything of creation. Now, every time we perform a mitzvah, we create a unity, which means to say we create a unity between what is above to what is below. When a Jewish man puts tefillin on his arm and his head, he creates a unity between Kutchebrichu and Shchintei, between the Holy One, blessed be He, and His divine presence, between the forces that exist above and the forces that exist below. And when he creates that unity, he brings down divine energy into this world, which brings holiness into everything that we do. When a Jew keeps the Shabbat day, the Sabbath day, he creates a holiness, he creates a unity between Kutchebrichu and the Shekhinah. When a Jew recites a blessing on food, he creates a unity between Kutchebrichu Ushechintei. When a Jew prays 3 times a day, he creates a unity. In every action that he is involved in, which is a mitzvah, he creates a unity. He unifies the holy forces from above to the holy forces that exist below. And everything becomes a oneness. And this is the essence of what we say. Perhaps the greatest prayer in the Jewish world is Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, Hashem, our God, Hashem is one. Everything about godliness in creation is one. Do we have the eyes to be able to see the unity that exists in creation? Or do we unfortunately see so much separation? Or do we even create the separation? The Tzaddik Gamur sees only unity, and his entire being is set in order to create unity amongst all of creation. In whatever he does, he wants to unify HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shekhinah, the Holy One, blessed be He, and the Shekhinah. These are 2 Kabbalistic terms which describe the concept of how we unify forces above to the forces below, and we create a oneness. And as is written in the work which is called The Faithful Shepherd, written by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moses wrote this work because he is the faithful shepherd of the Jewish people. Parshas Teitzei, and it says over there in the parsha called Ki Teitzei, it says, Kavara, the Ishtadal Batar Avoyi, the Imei, this is all Aramaic, of course, like a son who puts in his efforts to help after his father and his mother, Derachim lon yatir migarmei, that he has mercy upon them, more so that he has mercy on himself, v'nafshei, and his own soul, v'ruchei, and his spirit, v'nishmasei, and his soul, different levels of the soul. A person who really loves his parents, when he sees his parents are struggling, he has the ability to, of course, he does everything that he can in order to help his parents. And this is what we're talking about with the relationship between us and God, that we're doing everything that we possibly can in order to create a unity, to pursue after helping God. Like a son is pursuing after helping his parents, we are pursuing to helping God. How do we do that? By the mitzvot that we perform. Or masar garme lemisa, and to such a degree, he gives over self-sacrifice in himself to death. Eliyahu, upon them, upon his parents. He would even die for them. If he loves them, if he realizes who they are, if there's a good relationship between them, if he knows what's going on, he'll give over his very life for his parents. Lemifrachlon, in order to redeem them. For example, if one's parents would be held captive and the ransomers demanding a ransom from the son, and they say, we demand X amount of money, or we'll do this and this to your parents, the son will do everything that he can to redeem his parents. He'll even lose his life over it. He'll do whatever is necessary. This is how the Tzaddik Gamur, the completely righteous individual, acts towards God, is that he will give over everything that he has in order to serve God, no matter what. And is also brought down in another place. And both of them are on one branch. Both of them exist on one branch. Because what happens here, that through the tzaddik performing the refinements of creation, that the tzaddik is involved in refining through the noiga. Again, those who are new here or are listening to the Shear and they perhaps don't know what's happening, well, what we're talking about here is that there are three evil husks in creation, and shells, peels, call them what you want, and they surround the goodness of all creation, just like a fruit has a peel that surrounds the fruit. And ultimately, although it's true that the peel is not really something that is intrinsically bad, but it certainly negates our enjoying the fruit. We need to throw off, we need to peel off the peel and the husk of the fruit or the shell of the nut before we can enjoy the nut. So too, in all of creation, we have certain forces which are absolute evil and they must be disposed of completely. And then we have another force, which is called the Klippa Noga. It is an evil force, but it is a glowing evil force. It has the potential for good and the potential for bad, depending on how we use it. And the Tzaddikim are involved in clearing up this noiga, this Klippa Noiga, so that only the good will be revealed. Peel off the peel of the banana, then you can enjoy the banana. Crack the shell of the nut, and you can enjoy the nut. The goodness of the fruit sits inside, and the evil sits on the outside. And the tzaddik's task every day is to peel off all of this bad to get to the good. And through the fact that the tzaddik is involved in refining all of this noiga, all of this glowing husk, ma'alimai nukvin, he's teaching us this in a Kabbalistic language, which means that he causes the feminine waters to rise up. I'll explain it in a minute what this means. When a tzaddik is involved in the process of refinement, as we can all be involved in, every time we make a blessing on food, every time we put tefillin on as a man, every time we keep Shabbos, every time we keep Yom Tov, every time we shake a lulav and etrog when it's Sukkot, every time we eat a piece of matzah and it's Pesach, all of these mitzvahs, the moment that we perform the mitzvah, we do an action which is called causing the feminine waters to rise up. V'na'asim Yichudim. And this produces a unity, like we've been speaking about. When the feminine waters go upwards, Eliyahu lehorid mayim techurin, it causes a unity in the supernal worlds, and this causes male waters, which means the masculine waters, to come down into the world. Just as it is that we have seas and rivers and lakes, and there's water below, and the sun begins to shine on the waters and cause the water to evaporate into the air, and it makes clouds, and later on the clouds become heavy, and afterwards the rain comes down and blesses the land with all of that wonderful water. So too, when we are involved in mitzvot, we perform the same thing. We cause the feminine waters, like the lakes below, like the seas below, we cause the feminine waters to ascend upwards into the higher realms. And what that does eventually is, as the waters go up, it performs a yichud, it performs a unity, and it causes the masculine waters to come down, bringing blessing into the world. As I've mentioned many times, and I'll give an example of it once again because I like to share this example. I think it's quite practical. It's like going to the carnival. When you go to the carnival, there's a particular thing that we can play on over there, where they have this type of a machine, and it has a bell that sits at the top of the machine, and it has a type of a cushion or a strong type of material that sits on the bottom of the machine. And the whole goal of this particular machine, which you pay money to have fun with, is they give you a hammer. And the whole object is to strike the bottom of the machine with this hammer as hard as you can. And when you do so, it causes a particular lever or a particular ball inside the machine to rise upwards. If you hit it hard enough, it will cause this ball or this lever to rise up so much that it will hit the bell and it will ring. And when the bell rings, you'll win a prize. And this is basically what happens every time we perform a mitzvah. What we're doing is we're striking this force down below, and that causes a lever to be triggered, or a ball, so to speak, in the spiritual worlds to rise up. And it causes an awakening above, which is making a yichud, a unity. And the bell rings. And as the bell rings, boom, all of a sudden the blessing comes down into this world. And that is what the Tzaddik Gamur is involved in. The completely righteous individual, a unique individual. There are only 18,000 Tzaddikim that exist in all of creation, said Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, of all different levels. But they're not all Tzaddikim Gamurim. Some of them are Tzaddikim she'einam Gamurim. Some of them are Tzaddikim who are not completely righteous. But the completely righteous Tzaddik, he has no evil at all. He has transformed the evil in his heart into good. Both sides of his heart, the left side filled with the animalistic part, and the right side filled with the godly part. In fact, both of them are filled with godliness. And as a result, everything that he does is directed towards God, so that he can ultimately perform these Yichudim with every single mitzvah that he does, causing an awakening from below. The Mayin Nukvin, the feminine waters from below, awakening something up, stirring and awakening. And as a result of that, the waters rise up until they reach their point in heaven, where a Yichud is created. In the spiritual heaven, of course. We're not talking about physical matters here, where it goes up as if it's the earth and it has to rise through the atmosphere of the earth. We're talking about a spiritual concept that when we perform a mitzvah, it causes a spiritual awakening, causing a unity, and the unity causes a flow of masculine waters, mind churin, to descend into this world, bringing blessing to us all. Shehem heim mimei hachasadim. These are of the waters of kindness. Shebechol mitzvah or mitzvah, that is found in every single mitzvah that we perform. Meramach mitzvahs aseh, from all the 248 positive mitzvahs. We know that there are 248 positive mitzvahs that we are commanded to perform, and there are 365 negative mitzvahs, which you must be careful never to transgress. Now, every time we involve ourselves in one of those 248 positive mitzvahs, we cause this reaction to happen. The real Tzaddikim Gamurim are involved in this process day and night. They don't stop for a moment. Most of us stop. We're having some food to eat now. We're going to the gym. We've got shopping to do. There's something to go and attend to. Whatever it is, we're involved in all sorts of activities during the day. And we're not saying there's anything wrong with going to do one's activities. One does do that. We're just making a statement that the Tzaddik Gamur is completely involved in his service of God. Every moment of the day, he is performing another yichud, another mitzvah, from one mitzvah to the next. Mitzvah goreret mitzvah. One mitzvah brings another mitzvah in its trail. Shekulam heim bechinas chasadim u'mayim dechurim. And all of these positive mitzvahs exist in the aspect of kindness, of the masculine waters. Dahainu, which means to say, Hamshakas kedushas Elohuso yisborach. It is a drawing down of the holiness of God, milamaila, from above, lemata, to below. Lehitzla beish b'tachtonim, ultimately to become clothed into the lower forces of creation, as it is described in another place. And with this, he ends off chapter 10. What did we learn from chapter 10? We learned basically about the nature of the tzaddik. We started off Tanya, and we said everybody in this world comes into this world, and he is adjured with an oath that he should become a tzaddik in this world, and he shouldn't be a rasha. And then the Tanya taught us that there are different types of people. There are tzaddikim, there are rishaim, righteous, wicked. Beinonim also, in the middle. And now we've got to this point where we understand the nature of the tzaddik. There is a tzaddik who has a little bit of evil that rests in his heart on the left-hand side of the heart, which means to say it has not yet been converted to good. It does not mean to say he commits averas, God forbid. He does not commit any sins. But the problem with him is that he harbors a drop of evil in the heart. It never manifests itself, for sure not. He never does anything evil, for sure not. But there's a small drop in his heart that still needs to be transformed into good. And that is his avoid in the world. That is his service. Then there are people with bigger pieces of evil in their hearts. But then there are people on the other side that have no evil in the heart at all. The evil is transformed into complete goodness. And such an individual is called a Tzaddik Gamur. He knows of no evil in the world. He cannot think a bad thought. He cannot speak a bad word. He cannot do a bad action. His whole being is dedicated towards God, is dedicated towards holiness, is dedicated towards goodness. This is the nature of the Tzaddik Gamur. There are very few of them, as we saw in this chapter, as we're discussing it. And his whole being is dedicated to mitzvah performance, 248 mitzvahs, day in, day out. He awakens the mayin, the nukvin, the waters from below, the feminine waters. He causes an arousal to enter upwards, and it ascends. It creates a yichud. It creates a unity above, and it causes mayin dechurin, masculine waters, blessing, to descend into this world from which we can all benefit. Now, the Tanya, the Alter Rabbi, Rabbi Schneur Zalman of Liady, is going to continue on with chapter 11. And in chapter 11, we're going to learn about the Rasha. The Rasha is the evil person. What is his nature? Why is he evil? What type of a heart does he have? Why does he do the things that he does? Are we in that category? Are we in the category of the tzaddik? Well, it's easy to define. We've spoken about what the tzaddik is. If we feel ourselves to be on such a level whereby we only think good, speak good, and do good, we would be a tzaddik. On the other hand, we're going to learn that the Rasha, of course, is obviously going to fit in the opposite category. And thereafter, we're going to speak about the nature of the Beinoni, about the middleman, the average man. As we see over here, it is the book of the average man. How does the average man deal with his trials and his challenges every single day? At this point in time, I'm not going to start chapter 11 because all that's going to happen is I'm going to read a line or two and then we're going to be distracted already. So I'm going to end the Shear off at this point in time. And I want to thank you for joining me. If you have enjoyed this Shear, please do like the video that you see on YouTube and make a positive comment on YouTube, of course, underneath the video that you see. Please subscribe to my channel, share this video with your friends and family. We need to get out there and share this wonderful message of Torah and goodness and kindness, of course. For those of you who wish to, please feel free to be in touch with me. You can see my site, www.lovingkindness.co. And I'm Eliyahu Shear, of course. Please feel free to be in touch with me about any subject on Torah or life that you would like to discuss. Please feel free to join us for a shiur sometime or join me privately where we can learn one-on-one. At this point in time, as we go through the stage of the coronavirus and a lot of us are experiencing difficulties, if you feel you'd like to speak to somebody about how things are going and find a way to work through these challenges together, please feel free to be in touch with me. In the meantime, I wish you everything of the best, and I look forward to another Tanya shiur soon and another shiur, of course. And I wish you everything of the best and say shalom, shalom, bye-bye.